record the session. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining a very special day. Today is a very special day. Today is the first Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber Memorial Lecture. So let's start today's session with an invocation of a song. Let me share the screen.
व्यर्थ चिंता है जीवन की, व्यर्थ है मृत्यु का भय। आत्मा को ना मार पाते शस्त्र अग्नि असमय। पंचभूतों की बनी ये देह केवल वस्त्र है। पंचभूतों की बनी ये देह केवल वस्त्र है। आत्मा का जो वास्तविक है घर कहीं अन्यत्र है। परिवर्तन ही सत्य, झूठ सबका साथ है। कुछ न खोना कुछ न पाना, रिक्त रहते हाथ है। स्वयं है सृष्टि सारी, कहाँ उसको खोजना। जो भी होता शुभ ही होता, सब उसी की योजना। कामनाएं फल की छोड़े, वो ही सच्चा कर्म है। ईश्वर चरण में हो समर्पण, वो ही केवल धर्म है। व्यर्थ चिंता
जो मेरे बर्थडे पार्टी के दिन जो बेहतर।
Dear and respected friend, thank you so much for your kind attention. I, Randhir Kumar Gautam, Head of Department of School of Humanities and Social Science of Raffles University, I welcome you on behalf of Raffles University. I welcome you our Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber Memorial Lecture on the very topic Life Lessons from Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. Dear and respected friends, this lecture is being jointly co-nurtured by the School of Humanities and Social Science of Raffles University, Rage Global Foundation USA, and Viswanidhan Center for Asian Blossoming, Puducherry and Chennai. We are very grateful to you for your kind interest and participation. It is a movement of extreme pleasure to welcome the guests who are virtually present here to attend this memorial lecture. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our Chief Patron, Honorable Dr. Justice Meena Gomber, former Chief Justice of Rajasthan High Court, Professor Divakar, President of Raffles University, Deepika Dave, President of Rage Global Foundation USA, and all the honorable speakers and guest of honors, Dr. Vishesh Gupta, former Chairman, Uttar Pradesh Child Protection Commission, and eminent social scientist, Dr. J.S. Anand, very famous poet, author, philosopher, and chairperson of Aazad Foundation, Dr. Molly Joseph, former professor from Xaviers College, Kerala, Professor Dr. Laksmisree Banerjee, a very established poet, writer, literary critic, former founder and Vice-Chancellor and Vice-Chancellor at KOLHAN University, JHARKHAND, Professor Anand Kumar Giri from Madras Institute of Development Studies, and many friends. It's very difficult for me to tell all those names. Professor Gyan Gului, Dr. Vinita Singh, Professor Mukherjee, and all the respected participants, viewers, listeners. Let me give a kind of brief biographical sketch of Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber ji. Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber was born on 27 December 1950 and left his mortal body on February 14, 2010. Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber, a Harvard Business School alumnus who was the group CEO of Imar Properties, the Dubai West Construction and Realty conglomerate. While at Imar, Shri Vinod Kumar was instrumental with Imar chairman Muhammad Alabar in planning and constructing Dubai Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest tower. Shri Vinod Gomber is known to many of his friends, co-travelers, and concerned publics at large in Rajasthan and India and abroad as man of conviction, embodiment of trusteeship. He believed in dreaming with determination and transformational leadership. Today is a very special day to remember this extraordinary personality on his 71st birthday. This is the very first memorial lecture. So we have chosen the topic which gives a sense of his vision. Though he is physically not with us since 2010, but he has continued to be a constant source of strength and inspiration. He would have loved to see such talks. We miss him deeply, and Raffles University is the result of the unique vision of this great soul. Before the session, let me first invite Honorable Dr. Justice Meena Gomber. She is the second half of Shri Gomber, and she is a former judge of Rajasthan High Court and subsequently served as head of Armed Force Tribunal, Jaipur and Jodhpur from 2013 to 16. Currently, she has been effectively working as the chairperson, the Gomber Education Foundation, and looking after the functioning of Raffles University in Librana. So, Madam, please share your views on his birthday. Please unmute yourself, ma'am. Yes. Kindly unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm
yes.
doing.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, Professor Gautam, thank you so much. And as you have already said, today is the 71st birth anniversary of late Mr. Vinod Kumar Gomber. And the topic selected for the memorial lecture, and that too first memorial lecture, is so apt to his life that he was throughout his life a karma yogi, as you rightly said, that he believed into the trusteeship ideal of Mahatma Gandhi, and he did actualize in his life. So I wouldn't take long because there are so many speakers on the issue, and there are so many lessons from Gita that we can learn from. I will only say that there are some people like Mr. Gomber, great men, I believe, that they spread an aura and fragrance which outlives their mortal sojourn on this earth. And this was Mr. Gomber also. Not that he was my husband, but I have seen him living for maybe 39 years together, and I found that he was some very different principled person, and he lived them to the core of his heart, from the bottom of his heart till the end of his life. He always believed in giving. He always believed in karma. And he used to say nothing is short of hard work, labor, and whatever we hold, it is in trust with us, and all the resources which have been bestowed upon us do not belong to us. We are simply the custodians. And the Raffles University, also a philanthropic project, and that is also the result of that. He founded a foundation in 2005 with the object of giving back to the society, that too in a rural area. He could have easily gone with the educational institutions in a metro city or Jaipur at least, where we had lived all along our life. But he wanted to go to a rural urban place so that the people who are deprived of the infrastructure and other good facilities, which they cannot afford to go abroad and all that, he wanted to bring back that. So Raffles is rightly replica of all the things I, as a London University alumni, and my husband in US and my son also in Singapore and abroad in Boston, have seen. So he wanted that, he wants to share with all the money God has given with the people in rural area in the form of education. So I'm very happy and proud of him. So basically the crux of the issue is that he was a karma yogi, and I'm also pursuing his path and trying to accomplish his unfulfilled dream by being all the time on the campus 24/7. So thank you very much, and all the very best to all the participants and our guests from the other part of the globe who have shown their courage in the early morning of a working day. I'm sure these days are Christmas days and people must be holidaying here and there if there is no Omicron effect. But thank you very much for being part of this memorial lecture, and that is the first of its own kind. And thank you, Professor Andir, for choosing this theme, which is apt to him. And thanks a lot, and good luck with our discussions and our speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much for your blessing. Dear and respected friend, let me give a kind of brief context of today's talk. As you know, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita is universally acknowledged as one of the world's literary and spiritual masterpieces. It is a profound spiritual, psychological, and metaphysical truth. Dharma, as taught by Shri Bhagavad Gita, is neither a religion nor a dogma, according to one of the famous writer, Munshi. He said it is a universal law of becoming and also law of moral causation. Someone said Sri Krishna's reply to is not only what is best for Arjuna particularly, but also what is best generally or universally. So, and the teaching of Gita can be very helpful in all aspects of social and individual life, be it business enterprise, leadership, or management, because its methodology of seeking truth always make our personal lives and relationship happy and fruitful and successful. The Gita was a source of inspiration for freedom fighters as well as social reformer during Indian nationalist struggle before independence India. Although we have, interpretation of Gita like Gandhi's Gita and Vishesh Gita, Bal Gangadhar Tilak Gita, Arvindo Gitas. Professor Radhakrishnan one explained how the Gita has been creating or creative in achieving a synthesis between different schools of philosophy. And for that matter, when we see post-independent India, there are so many reformer. I can recall Vinova Bhave, who would strictly qualify to be called, as Dr. Justice ma'am said, Karma Yogi, dedicating his life, entire life, to the selfless service of humanity, and inspired many. So with this brief introduction, first I would like to invite Dr. Vishesh Kumar Gupta ji. सर आपका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, स्वागत। लेकिन उससे पहले एक संक्षिप्त जीवन वृत्त डॉक्टर विशेष गुप्ता जी, आप महाराजा हरिश्चंद्र विश्वविद्यालय के प्रधानाचार्य के रूप में कार्यरत रहे हैं और तकरीबन आपका शिक्षण अनुभव 37 वर्ष से भी ज्यादा और शोध अनुभव 30 वर्ष से भी ज्यादा है। आपके मार्गदर्शन में कई सारे महत्वपूर्ण शोध प्रावधान हुए हैं। आप तकरीबन 2500 से भी अधिक लेख दैनिक जागरण, अमर उजाला, राजस्थान पत्रिका, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस जैसे समाचार पत्रों में आपने प्रकाशित किया है। सर, सबसे सर्वप्रथम मैं आपको ही आमंत्रित करता हूं और आप एक राज्य मंत्री भी हैं उत्तर प्रदेश के, तो अब मैं आपको आमंत्रित करता हूं, आप श्रीमद् भगवत गीता के सीख के ऊपर अपना उद्बोधन दें। नमस्कार सर।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर रणधीर जी, आपने मुझे समय दिया। निश्चित तौर पर मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करता हूं और श्रद्धांजलि देता हूं उस महान आत्मा को जिस कर्म योगी के व्यक्तित्व को आपने विस्तारित करने के लिए गीता को चुना है, गीता के उपदेशों को चुना है, उसके लेसन्स को चुना है। आदरणीय विनोद कुमार गुम्बर जी के विषय में अभी जिन शब्दों का चयन किया गया, मुझे लगता है कि उनके व्यक्तित्व में और गीता के लेसन्स में बहुत कोरिलेशन है, समानता है, सहसंबद्धता है। मैं बधाई देता हूं आपको कि आपने ऐसे आइकन को, विनोद गुम्बर जी जैसे व्यक्तित्व को आपने सबके सामने रखा है और गीता के महत्व को, गीता के लेसन्स को, गीता की सीख को आपने हम सबके सामने ये प्रस्तुत किया है कि हम किस प्रकार से गीता के उन उपदेशों को किस प्रकार से ऐसे महान व्यक्तित्व के साथ सहसंबंधित करते हुए समाज के बीच में रखें और उस आइकन को डेवलप करें, जो आइकॉन केवल जन्म ही नहीं लेते बल्कि समाज में अपनी कर्म भूमि, कर्म साधना से अपने आप को सिद्ध करते। यहां उपस्थित चीफ गेस्ट के रूप में डॉक्टर जस्टिस वी गुम्बर, फॉर्मर जस्टिस ऑफ राजस्थान, दीपिका द्विवेदी, प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर दिवाकर, ऑनरेबल वीसी, डॉक्टर जरनैल सिंह जी, गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर के रूप में डॉक्टर मौली जोसेफ जी, प्रोफेसर आनंद गिरी जी, और जो भी देयर आर persons, those who are directly concerned and associated with this media and उसको सुन रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं, मैं सबका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। दरअसल गीता के विषय में कहा जाता है कि, रामायण के विषय में कहा जाता है कि अगर आपको इफ यू वांट टू लर्न कैरेक्टर इन द सोसाइटी, प्लीज स्टडी रामायण, और इफ यू वांट टू स्टडी इथिक्स, अगर आप नीति जानना चाहते हैं तो आप गीता को पढ़िए। गीता केवल एक पुस्तक नहीं है, एक जीवन के बहुआयामी मानदंडों को लेकर एक ऐसा संकुल है जिसको पढ़ने पर लगता है कि जीवन का कोई पक्ष अछूता नहीं, क्योंकि गीता डिस्कोर्स है जो लॉर्ड कृष्ण और अर्जुन के बीच में, कुरुक्षेत्र के वार के बीच में चर्चा शुरू होती है और जो टीचिंग्स लॉर्ड कृष्णा की थी, दे ऑल हेल्प चेंज अर्जुन्स पर्सपेक्टिव अबाउट लाइफ एंड दस हिज लाइफ पाथ. गीता इज many centuries old. The logic and knowledge inherent in this every word make it a timeless guide. तो हम ये जान सकते हैं कि केवल वो संवाद जो कुरुक्षेत्र के मैदान में हुआ था, उसने किस प्रकार से जीवन को बदला, किस प्रकार से तमाम ऐसे बिंदु उभर कर सामने आए जिसके लिए अर्जुन, जो कंफ्यूज और अपने को डिजेक्ट महसूस कर रहे थे, और वहां जिन्होंने फाइट करने से अपने आप को मना कर दिया था, यानी he refused to fight as they failed to visualize the outcome of his actions. क्या होगा अगर संघर्ष होता है, लड़ाई होगी. Perceiving things in the right way plays a critical role in helping us understand what we should do, why we should do, our role in the scheme of things and shaping our attitudes. यानी वो उनके बीच का संवाद पूरे जीवन को बदल देता है और किस प्रकार से कॉन्फिडेंस पैदा करता है लाइफ के प्रति. जब साक्षात भगवान कृष्ण उनके सामने हो और उनकी टीचिंग उनके सामने हो, तो आपने देखा पूरे वार का पूरा पर्सपेक्टिव और पूरा का पूरा रिजल्ट हमारे सामने था. तो यहां हम उनके लेसन्स को देखते हैं कि जो डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव है उसमें राइट पर्सपेक्टिव कैसे विकसित हो. हाउ वी कैन डेवलप राइट पर्सपेक्टिव, वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम this particular point, and this is the lesson. Second lesson is to understand that change is the law of nature. यानी किस प्रकार से उन्होंने उसकी मनोदशा को बदला है, उससे हमें सीख मिलती है. According to the Gita, everything has to change. We know that our body, feelings, emotions, and perceptions as well as everything around us is in a state of flux. Yet when we are told that we need to change, we are reluctant to accept the advice and we oppose to it. So to be successful, an individual needs to adopt in new situations, innovate and come up with better solutions and explore new opportunities. So while you enjoy the experience of being in familiar surroundings, be ready to usher in reform and have new experiences. यानी उस युद्ध के मैदान में जिस प्रकार से टीचिंग दी गई, जिस प्रकार से संवाद हुआ, डायलॉग हुआ, उसने पूरी लाइफ को अर्जुन की बदल के रख दिया. और कहीं ना कहीं हमें ये सीख वहां से मिलती है. वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम दिस लेसन दैट अंडरस्टैंड, वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड द चेंज इज द लॉ ऑफ नेचर. Every time we have to prepare ourselves for change. Now, next point we can discuss practicing tolerance and forgiveness. यानी जीवन में किस प्रकार से टॉलरेंस और किस प्रकार से दूसरे को क्षमा करने के लिए हम उस बिहेवियर को अपनी पर्सनालिटी में इम्बाइब कर सकते हैं. Tolerance teaches us to face the hardships of life with equanimity and desist from using force even when you are provoked. Forgiveness helps us pardon injustice and overcome the feelings of anonymity. Both these qualities are crucial to maintain and nurture relationship. Develop feelings of empathy and love and overcome divisive thoughts. These two values form the bedrock of the relationship that bound the पांडवा ब्रदर्स. पांडव भाइयों के बीच ये बेडरॉक किस प्रकार से उनके संबंधों का आधार बना, ये टीचिंग और लर्निंग हमें वहां से प्राप्त कर सकती. नेक्स्ट वी कैन डिस्कस द चेंज द वे आउट थिंक. यानी अपने उस सोचने के तौर तरीकों को हमें बदलना चाहिए. जिस प्रकार से श्री कृष्ण ने जिस प्रकार से टीच किया था और युद्ध के लिए जिस प्रकार से अपने को नकार दिया था, फ्रस्ट्रेट हो गए थे, वहां से डिजेक्ट हो गए थे, ये वहां वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम दैट. तो हैविंग पॉजिटिव थॉट्स हेल्प अस अचीव ए बैलेंस पर्सपेक्टिव, स्टे कॉन्फिडेंट, ओवरकम नेगेटिव नोशंस, प्रिपेयर वेल टू मीट चैलेंजेस एंड चैनलाइज आवर एनर्जी टू अचीव अवर गोल्स, यानी अपने लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने के लिए हम अपनी एनर्जी को कैसे चैनलाइज करें, ये सीख हमें मिलती है, ये लेसन है। और मुझे लगता है कि विनोद कुमार गुंबर जी पे भी ये बात 100% लागू होती है कि उन्होंने अपने लाइफ में निश्चित तौर पर जो प्रैग्मेटिज्म का इस्तेमाल किया है, उससे निश्चित तौर पर कहीं ना कहीं हमें ये पता लगता है कि उन्होंने अपने निश्चित तौर पर समाज के सोच को बदलने की बात की थी। जैसे उन्होंने गांव में काम किया, यानी मैडम स्पीकिंग अबाउट कि उन्होंने जो धन, जैसे हम समाज में व्हाट एवर वी अर्न इट इज अवर ड्यूटी टू रिटर्न बैक टू द सोसाइटी, तो उन्होंने कहीं ना कहीं अपने उस धन के लिए ये बात की कि मैं कम से कम गरीब समाज के तमाम ऐसे जो एम्पावरिस्ट लोग हैं उनके लिए कैसे हम लोग इस्तेमाल कर सकते। तो ये कहीं ना कहीं सोचने का तौर तरीका था जो कहीं ना कहीं हमें फॉलो करने की आवश्यकता है। नेक्स्ट, स्टे काम, हम शांत रहना कैसे सीखे, यानी जो टीचिंग थी उसमें एक संवाद हुआ, यानी हम अच्छे श्रोता बने। कई बार हम अपनी बातों को चर्चा करते वक्त में हम कभी कभी एग्रेसिव हो जाते हैं, लेकिन अगर कोई बात, कोई चर्चा किसी एक्सपर्ट के द्वारा हम लोगों को बताई जाती है तो निश्चित तौर पर वी हैव टू स्टे calm. A calm mind will help us control our impulses, stay unperturbed and hopeful through both the good and the bad times, and keep stresses under control. It will also help us achieve clarity of thoughts, weigh our options and channelize our energy towards gainful endeavors. The knowledge that change is inevitable plays a big role in helping us calm. हमें शांत रहकर चीजों को देखना, सुनना, तब उस पर अपनी प्रतिक्रिया देना, मुद्दतों सोचना, मुख्तसर बोलना, ये हमारी लाइफ का कम से कम ये टीचिंग हम लोगों को वहां से मिलती है कि हमें किस प्रकार से हर परिस्थिति में शांत रहकर सभी बातों को सुनना, गहन करना, मनन करना, थिंक करना, तब उसके बाद लॉजिकली हम लोग किस प्रकार से अपनी बात को प्रस्तुत कर सकते हैं। ये बात सिखाने की, ये बात बताने की। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट वी कैन डिस्कस वर्क फॉर द वेलफेयर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। जिस प्रकार से मैं तो बधाई दूंगा रणधीर गौतम जी आपको कि आपने इतना बढ़िया टॉपिक चुना, और वो भी इस मेमोरियल लेक्चर के लिए कि जो एक पर्सनालिटी जिस पर ये सारे लेसन्स लागू होते हैं, हम लोगों को निश्चित तौर पर फॉलो करने की बात है। Work for the welfare of the world. Most of our actions are performed solely for our own benefit. We rarely worry about how our actions may affect others. This mindset makes us act in a selfish manner and detaches us from those around us. On the other hand, selflessness helps us realize that the world is one family. Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam. Our actions should be such that they help make the world a better place and help us bond with those around us. हमें इस पूरी दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए निश्चित तौर पर प्रयास करने चाहिए। और मुझे लगता है विनोद गुंबर जी का भी ये विजन था कहीं ना कहीं। वो चाहते थे कि हम दुनिया को एक ऐसा अच्छा स्थान, एक अच्छा बनाएं जहां पर समाज के आखिरी छोर पर रहने वाले तमाम ऐसे कमजोर लोगों को हेल्प की जा सके। अगर हम what we are able and we are very much powerful for just to do this type of action. Next we can discuss we must be fearless. निर्भय कैसे बन सकते हैं। गांधी जी जब राम नाम की बात करते थे या युद्ध के मैदान में जब श्री कृष्ण जी की टीचिंग अर्जुन को दी जा रही थी, तो उन्होंने निश्चित तौर पर जीवन में फेयरलेस और निर्भय हम कब हो सकते हैं, जब अपने एक्शंस को हम बेहतर करते हैं। fearless, fear is one of the primordial emotions present in every living beings. In humans, fear arises out of lack of knowledge and the consequent inability to manage emotions. So the steadfast in your efforts to gain knowledge and wisdom, for these are what will help you understand the unknown and overcome your fear and hesitation. किस प्रकार से हम fearless होकर अपने आप को आने वाले तमाम उस समाज में या भविष्य के अपने हेजिटेशन से, फियर से कैसे हम बचाव कर सकते हैं। लेकिन we have to internalize all these things. आंतरिकृत करने के बाद ही हम अपने आप को निर्भय महसूस कर सकते हैं। मैनेज योर एंगर, अपने गुस्से को किस प्रकार से, ये सीख भी हमें मिलती है। दिस इज लेसन फ्रॉम द गीता कि हमें अपने गुस्से को, अपने एंगर को, अपने एग्रेसिवनेस को किस प्रकार से कम करना है, रिड्यूस करना है, कंट्रोल करना है. एंगर impedes our ability to reason, which leads to confusion and chaos. It decreases our clarity and thought and distracts us from pursuing our goals. The unpleasant experience gives rise to negative thoughts and pushes us towards committing destructive acts. This is the lesson. We can take this lesson from this Gita. Okay, we should manage our anger. Next, dream big. मुझे लगता है कि गुब्बर साहब का एक बहुत बड़ा स्वप्न भी था, सोच भी उनकी बड़ी थी और उसी सोच को लेकर वो आगे बढ़े भी, जिसकी चर्चा मैडम ने अभी हमारे सामने की कि ड्रीम बिग, बड़े स्वप्न देखना, और स्वप्न भी सोते वक्त नहीं, दिन में स्वप्न देखना. तो मुझे लगता है कि उन्होंने समाज को बेहतर करने के लिए, गीता का एक सिद्धांत ये भी है कि अपने जीवन को बेहतर बनाने के लिए, लेकिन उस बेहतर बनाने के लिए बेहतर इथिक्स को, वैल्यूज को अपने जीवन में कहीं ना कहीं, ट्रुथ को कहीं ना कहीं हमें लाना होगा, और थिंग्स को एज द थिंग्स दे आर, नॉट दे ought to be or should be. So if we want to explore the truth, we have to find out truth from yourself. Dream big. Most remarkable achievements that we read or hear about are nothing but someone dreaming big and making their dream come true. So do not be scared or doubtful about dreaming big and putting in unwavering effort to make it come true. At the same time, do not let easier goal distract you and make you lose focus from your higher objective. This is also very, very important lesson, and we can take this idea and we can take this particular view from Gita. And lastly, accept that nothing is permanent. जिंदगी में कुछ भी स्थायी नहीं है. ये बात भी हमें गीता से मिलती है, और कितना बड़ा लेसन. अगर ये सारे लेसन को अगर हम लोग सीख लें तो जिंदगी में माया मोह के जंजाल से हम लोग निकल सकते हैं. सभी को जाना है, सभी को पारलौकिक जिंदगी जीवन व्यतीत करना है. तो एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द डे turning to night and into day again best illustrates the fact that nothing is in this world is permanent, including success and failures. Those who have failed in this attempt should take heart from this example and keep striving for success. And those who are going through bad times should keep preserving until they are able to change the tide. Time is very short and going to be over. Just I have discussed only 10 things.
Thank you.
Just for the बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
केवल बहुत शॉर्ट में छोटी बातों की अभी चर्चा मैंने की है, और मुझे लगता है कि ये सारी बातें कहीं ना कहीं विनोद गुम्बर जी के जीवन में कहीं ना कहीं लागू होती. हम लोग को सीखने के लिए बहुत कुछ है, और ऐसे व्यक्तित्व के जो तमाम पहलू हैं वो निश्चित तौर पर कहीं ना कहीं बाहर आने चाहिए, और आने वाले समाज के लिए, आने वाली सोसाइटी के लिए, आने वाले बच्चों के लिए, पीढ़ी के लिए विनोद गुम्बर जी का जीवन निश्चित तौर पर एक आदर्श जीवन रहा है. और मैं ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूं कि कहीं ना कहीं हम सब उनके बताए हुए रास्ते पर चलेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं गीता की इन टीचिंग्स को भी हम अपने ऊपर भी लागू करेंगे, और उनके जीवन से कहीं ना कहीं तालमेल बैठाकर हम एक अच्छे, बेहतर हिंदुस्तान, बेहतर समाज, बेहतर राष्ट्र का निर्माण कर सकते हैं. आपने मुझे मौका दिया, निश्चित तौर पर
थैंक यू.
वेरी ग्रेटफुल.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. थैंक यू सो मच सर. थैंक यू सो मच. And the very important teaching that you have already highlighted, and the best part of the Gita, as you have already highlighted, the deeper you dive into it, the richer the meaning you will get. And the aspect of pragmatism, Gita will Gita invites us, even seeker, is at liberty to extract from this treasure any meaning he likes as to enable him to enforce in his life. So that is very important. So now
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Now it's time to invite our next speaker and guest of honor, Dr. J.S. Anand. Dr. J.S. Anand does not need any introduction at all. Dr. J.S. Anand is an eminent poet. He has authored more than 100 books in English poetry, fictions, non-fiction, and spirituality. He's a professor of emeritus at Institute of European Roma Studies and Research, Belgrade, Serbia. Is also a recipient of prestigious Naji Naman Literary Award 2020 and chairman of World Literary India. Besides this, he is also chairman of Aazad Foundation. So, sir, you are invited. Please share your view.
Thank you so much, Gautamji. First of all, I congratulate the organizers of Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber Memorial Lecture on taking up an issue of eternal relevance, life lessons from Bhagavad Gita. I am thankful to you for making me a part of this intellectual exercise. Gita is a sacred text of Hindu religion, and it is this scripture by which people vow to speak the truth and nothing but truth in the courts of law. It symbolizes the underlying fact that this sacred book, which forms a part of Mahabharata by Rishi Vedvyasa, is by far the most revered work of spirituality and philosophy. When the COVID restrictions were on and we were forced into our homes, I was watching the Mahabharata serial, and it tempted me to write my epic Mahabharata, The War of Words. This is the book which I wrote during those times, Mahabharata, The War of Words. In this epic, I have involved myself in a dialogue with the Lord. And my essential questions were, we personify Arjuna. Such a great war in which millions perished. Did it lead to peace on earth? Or even Aryavarta, our India? Where is Dharma? Do we allow people to possess intellectual questing? Don't we silence them and force them to remain shut and just follow? Another question was, why so much blood was shed merely to defeat just one headstrong prince? Why so many people perished? There may be divine reasons and divine justifications, but my questions were the questions of an ordinary person who happens to read Mahabharata and live by its lessons. The Bhagavad Gita is a mystical text that speaks about the nature of things. It speaks about humanity, reality, and our place in that reality, as well as the actions we are to take to find wisdom and happiness. It emphasizes the ways in which humanity can deal with the ever-changing world and the emotions of the mind. It deals with pathways to wisdom and humanity's relationship to ultimate reality. Very important thing is, it establishes a person's right to question everything. Its approach is a dialogue between a symbolical human named Arjuna and the reality symbolized in this text as Sri Krishna. The reality states that it is good to question life. Thus, Sri Krishna answers Arjuna's questions. The purpose of great text is to help guide people live a better life by asking questions, seeking answers, and gaining wisdom. There is no other way. Scriptures deliver a message that guides us through the murky, emotional, turbulent waters of life. They reveal a path to attain wisdom and thus live a wiser, happier life by sharing that wisdom. The Gita begins Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, meaning on the battlefield of duty, on the battlefield of the heart's desire. This means that there is a battle between wisdom and ignorance, and the battle is not only externalized, it is in the mind of each being. It is a battle to overcome ignorance, gain wisdom, and become detached from what is impermanent and perishable. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means to do your duty without expectation of a reward. If we gain detachment, if we gain insight, we will find our duty, our responsibility. We will realize that our duty is our responsibility. We will find the garden of God and see our duty, which is to till that garden. Thus, we will see the beauty of this world and add to its beauty. The Gita reveals that you have the right to work, but you do not have the right to the fruits of that labor. Now, if you work for work's sake, it doesn't mean you will not get benefits. Rather, the focus should be on doing your duty and finding joy in your work. Most people are miserable because they are working only to get something. Gita wants us to do something that brings you joy. Listen to the inward voice, find your responsibility, and till the garden of God. Furthermore, meditate to find strength so that you can overcome the world's confusion. Move forward, working without looking for rewards. Let the joy of your work be your guide. Help the world find more beauty. Help bring more beauty into the world. Responsibility is the word. Detachment is the necessity. Letting go of your mind's ego is the price to be paid. In short, you are learning to be happy. When you leave the earth, you will go to another plane of consciousness. If you have not gained some happiness here, you most likely will not find happiness there too. Thus, the Gita states that life is about finding contentment and happiness in the work you do. I would like to draw the attention of learned audience towards another aspect of the idea of karma. It is nishkarma. In other words, action and inaction. Lord Krishna says, life is religion. It means action is dharma. We become actors when we undertake some deeds. I believe that you are in action even if you are not involved in any activity. Action doesn't mean you are doing something. Even when you are not doing something, you are still in action. Inaction is also an act in itself, and it has its reverberations on the life of actors. Those people who do not act when they are supposed to act, that is also a sort of act. An action is considered to be something that actually takes place, but in spiritual realms, an action has several shades, several layers. For example, action is preceded by thought, and thought comes into shape as a result of various impulses that impact our mental state. There is an impulse, there is a thought, there is action. In this way, action actually starts in the impulsive cell of man, upon which there is some brain work, and it forms into a thought, and then it is transformed into action. So the idea of karma actually belongs to the actions and deeds that men perform while alive or while they are in the dharma kshetra. But this theory, by this theory, all actions are dictated by thought. And what is you think is also equal to action. So our thinking is also equal to action. When we talk of nishkam karma, it is indicated that action should be free of any intensious desires, and it should be undertaken by a sense of detachment as a part of one's duty. But gods know what you are thinking, why you are undertaking some deeds. And I believe a deed is not done without its thought complement. In this way, even thoughts can be taken as acts, good or bad. And gods don't spare men whose thoughts verge on the evil, let alone their actions. Evil is an intellectual discipline in which disrupted minds hold sway. And before an evil act is accomplished, there is a whole theory class which is held in the chambers of the mind. In several religions, there is a great focus on reciting of scriptures, satsang, and listening to holy verses. Listening to these holy strains is good enough. Listening to them is good. But absorbing their meaning is more important. And still more important is working according to them. That is not enough. You are listening to something. It is the holy word that shapes human thought. Now I come to the crux of the matter. It is the holy word that shapes human thought and thus controls human actions. If we want a better social environment and cosmic awakening among the people, we need a revolution in the minds of men. We can't ignore the fact that Arjuna started fighting with a full mind only after a thorough understanding of his position as a responsible human being vis-a-vis the cosmic reality. Lord Krishna changed the way he was thinking. Dr. Vishesh was also talking about this. Lord Krishna changed the way he was thinking, and then it was easier for him to fight his own kith and kin. This thought repatterning was done by Guru Gobind Singh Ji also when he constituted the Khalsa Panth. He changed the thinking processes of the great five Panch Pyaras, we call them. Great leaders of men like Lord Krishna come to change how people think and act, and it makes all the difference. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for an excellent deliberation and a deep presentation, and particularly the idea that you invoked, the idea of aparigraha. And that is the very important thing which we can learn from this Bhagavad Gita, and writers from Emerson to Thoreau to T.S. Eliot, they considered this text as the greatest philosophical poem. And we can understand with your presentation why. So now it's time to invite our next distinguished speaker and guest of honor, Dr. Molly Joseph. Let me give a kind of brief sketch of Molly Joseph. Dr. Molly Joseph had her doctorate in post-war American poetry. She retired as head of English department, Xaviers College, Kerala, and served as professors communicative English at FISAT, Kerala. She is a bilingual writer. She writes traveangles, poems, and short stories. She has published more than 12 books of poems. So thank you so much, madam, for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Dr. Ranveer, the soft-spoken, the analytical, insightful anchor and moderator of today's talk series. I hope my voice carries enough to reach you all. Is it?
Yes, yes.
First and foremost, let me do my pranams to that great soul of whom I was listening to, Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber, and this lecture is dedicated to him. We could hear his own voice speaking about that wonderful personality. Today, we're happy to hear that. Dr. Justice Meena ji. To pick up Shrimad Bhagavad Gita and to pool thoughts on it was a well thought out gesture, in the sense that we are living in such a trouble-torn world. When Deer spoke to me about it, he said it is public awareness kind of talk. So I was just focusing on very common, very simple sparks that I could gather from this great book of wisdom so that it can reach out to the common man. For me, always this Kurukshetra epitomizes the modern Kurukshetra we are in, where on one hand, stricken by the pandemic, on the other hand, the kind of hegemony that works, so much of oppression, suppression, everything. One hand, there is problem of plenty, the other side, there is penury, poverty. We are torn in between. And we are like Arjunas, dazed in inaction and inertia, sometimes even losing hope. So I was going to Bhagavad Gita, which has got great scriptural resonances to Vedic philosophy, as a profound discourse on the philosophy of life. And I was, yes, I think it's okay, the screen is enough, yeah. When Arjuna is tormented by emotional turmoil, when he has to fight against his relatives, teachers and friends in the group, the so-called Acharyas, Bhishmacharya, Dronacharya, he's crestfallen. And how his charioteer, none other than Lord Krishna himself, is enthusing him into action, energizing him to action through bringing in the right kind of enlightenment. Not only seeking the self and self-realization, but reaching Godhead. And I was just going through the historical part of Bhagavad Gita, and it surprised me. The great Bhagavad Gita was first translated into English by Charles Wilkins in 1785 and published by British East India Company with an introduction by Lord Warren Hastings, the first British Governor General of India, where in his foreword, he was speaking about the universality and uniqueness that's about this great book, The Repository of Great Wisdom. And we know how this great wisdom has influenced writers, thinkers, scientists. Our Bapu, Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Aurobindo, Albert Einstein, or Hermann Hesse, Henry David Thoreau, people of the kinds. Walt Whitman, my research work is on American literature. How much he has absorbed the core content of this great teachings of Bhagavad Gita. But we can say the Bhagavad Gita can be studied from different angles, either as a historical document, or a spiritual treatise, or pure sublime poetry, or a scriptural text for daily chanting and prayer, or at best, for the youngsters of the day. Some of my students have joined Mandraka, who is an IT professional now. For them, the best management mantra to counter the adversities of the day. This new age technology does not wait for a new normal, but they build it themselves. Have you noticed, dear friends? They're not trying to find out the evolutionary growth of things like, oh, we have pandemic has struck us, the economy is having slump, whatever. They are reinventing it for themselves. Bold leadership, karma is required, upending conventions, and creating new visions for future with more of inclusivity, protecting the environment. In fact, these days in workplaces, workplaces have become work from home. Actually, you are asked, the credo of these big companies is like, you build your own environment where you work. Maybe when this period is over, they may ask them, bring your own environment into your workplace if offices start functioning. So what I am telling you is, isn't it the crux of the karma yoga that the great Gita is telling us? Here, let me just weave it with the contemporary resonances and lively incidents happening around me. Caught up in this COVID-stricken world, where opportunities dwindle for youngsters, I was hearing some very sad reports of some of the students even committing suicide. I wrote a poem, Broken. I was crestfallen listening to that. And some of the reasons where they were falling to depression and their chances of higher studies getting short. Suddenly, they feel there is no meaning to life. I wrote a poem, When Green Meadows Catch Fire. That is the precarious situation we are in. We are turning, people are turning desperate. But let me tell you about one incident, a real incident, narrated by my friend who was working in Gulf. Of course, COVID, the pandemic struck like anything. And workforce couldn't be paid, and he had to shut down what he was doing, and he planned to come back to Kerala, where he had little bit of land to cultivate. He thought at least he can take to farming, make his living, his own food grains, crops and products. But again, there comes the so-called closing down of airport, everything. That was actually fanning the fuel of his despair. But the man stood his ground. Therein, that Karma Yoga resonates. The Gita says, human life is full of battle. Never shirk in fear. Fight to the last. Stand your ground. Yes, that friend of mine stood his ground. He stuck to his own alien soil there. With a little money, he starts a company making sanitizers and all those masks, all this, specializing in that. And he tells me, I stood my ground. I knew that we have to live with Corona. Live with Corona. Let it be the motto. Whatever be the change that happens, we have to stand it. Isn't it what Lord Krishna is enthusing our days Arjuna on? We are like days Rajanas these days, when future looks so bleak. Now that friend of mine prospered like anything. He could start one company after another, giving so much of help to the people who felt they lost their jobs, they lost their future. And he says, I have explored a new meaning, encountering this kind of predicament. I thought of this great credo of Bhagavad Gita when I listened to his story with Vedic Press. Dear friends, I'm not expanding much on each and every, because we heard very philosophical unveiling of the great credos expounded by Krishna. But let me pick up another one, which somebody else has spoken. But when I speak, I just want to bring out one example, that is it. Change. Change is the law of the universe. Yes. It was Bapu who said, be the change that you want to see in others. Sometimes we resist change, and we resist because we may say we welcome change, but we never want to turn out into change agents. But in this random, unpredictable life, sometimes a turning point occurs. I'm just giving you one example. A turning point occurs, and that throws everything into relief. You might have heard of the Nobel Prize winner, Elie Wiesel. He got Nobel Prize for Peace in 1986. He was a Romanian-born American writer. And he was the one who saw grim realities at Racer's edge in the concentration camps in Auschwitz and Buchenwald. He knew what it was, suffering. The turning point in his life occurs when he was listening to the lecture by another French author, Franco Morais. He also had won Nobel Prize. Franco Morais was more or less on thinking in lines of the Christian way of looking at things, at suffering, everything. He was listening to the lecture. Elie Wiesel was listening to the lecture. Suddenly he stands up and says, Sir, you speak so much about the sufferings of Christ, but I have seen bitter things than that happening to men, happening to people around me. So I think there is no point in listening to you anymore. He leaves. Then Franco Morais holds him by the hand. Just like in Ancient Mariner, the mariner holds him, the wedding guest, by the hand, and he was overcome by the very look of him. Yes, I want to talk to you, my friends. Here, Elie Wiesel sits and explains the saga of suffering, the furnace they were in those concentration camps. At the end, Franco Morais hugs him and says, my dear friend, I know you are after post-war, he was released and he was working for human rights. You are a human rights activist. But what I tell you now is write it down, your experience. Let people read, and then your first-hand knowledge of things really matter. Yes, that was the turning point in his life. He took it, he says, he wrote 57 books. And later he won the Nobel Prize for Peace, not only for his activities, but for his great writing. It was a chance moment that changed his life. Dear friends, yes, so much of talk has gone on so many other things, like, how we practice tolerance, how we should have patience to listen. These days, when we are drawn by lust, anger, and greed, it opens the gates to self-destructive hell, Lord Krishna says. Isn't it the predicament these days? In the name of progress, development, what all are we doing? Ecological damage. And then people running roughshod over each other. High time we listen to the sagacious wisdom, survival, management mantra of our complicated times. With warmth, that's what we writers are trying to do. Propagating the kind of essential human kindness by little unremembered acts of kindness and love. Cutting across walls and wall building in the name of ideology, religion, politics, whatever. We have to hug each other. And then that is a real God reaching position, I believe. There are important sections there like Dhyana Yoga and then Bhakti Yoga, all these connected with Bhagavad Gita with reverential respect. And I am not fit enough to talk on it, but I'm just touching upon this Karma Yoga part and just trying to wind up my thoughts on it by just saying, let us have time to listen to each other, try to understand each other, tolerate each other. And humankind is one kind. Let us seek the God in others, seek the God in ourselves, first and foremost. And then we reach real Godhead. Lord Krishna says, that is your way to me, making your life meaningful. Thank you, Dr. Ranjir, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I know I only touched the tip of the iceberg, but I have to keep the time constrained. Thank you once again, all of you, for your patience.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Thank you very much for a thought-provoking talk and very insightful talk, and it really invoked our attention as well as sensibility. And you have touched a very important aspect of Gita, the purpose of Gita. The purpose of Gita, as said by Gandhi, is not to narrate history, but to teach something a universal and everlasting values. Thank you so much, madam. Now it's time to invite our next distinguished speaker and guest of honor, Professor Dr. Laksmisree Banerjee. She is an established poet, writer, literary critic, editor, educationist, and vocalist, and Vice-Chancellor and University Professor of English and Cultural Studies. She has 8 books of poetry, more than 160 research publications and academic books on the diverse areas of literature, art, and culture. Dr. Banerjee is a national and international Fulbright and Commonwealth scholar, having taught, lectured, and recited her poetry and music in a premier universities and festivals across the globe. She has several awards and international assignments to her credit, a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, and Rotarian, she believes in using her pain and voice for social change. Dr. Banerjee is the Indian Rashtrapati's nominee on boards of central universities also. So now I would like to invite Dr. Banerjee to kindly share her thought. Yes, please unmute. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
And can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good evening and namaskar to all the esteemed guests and the speakers and dignitaries here. I'm very grateful to the organizers and to Professor Andhir for inviting me, whatever that may be, to speak whatever my little bit of modest knowledge that I have about the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, as writers and as thinkers, we all know that we all have our own ways of interpreting a text. And Bhagavad Gita, in my personal life, I have never learned Sanskrit ever academically, as so many other languages. But I have been hearing about his various slokas and their interpretations since I was 2 years old, from my grandfather and then from my father. And not just the Bhagavad Gita, I must say, in a very modest and humble way, the Bible and even the Quran. But I'm not trying to prove anything except that it's the way you are brought up that sort of adds on a kind of a multi-dimension. The upbringing itself is a kind of a multi-dimension to all that you read later on in life, which, of course, I've read most of the Gita in English with the Sanskrit on the other side. I personally feel that, of course, it's a sacred text, but I would not like to really, in my own way, call it a sacred Hindu text. Because today, Hindu, for whatever reason, is not, it does not give the resonance of the actual word for those people who lived beside the river Sindhu. And the Indus Valley is also the same word, Hindu and Indus. But it is much more than that. As Dr. Sahab Jernail ji said, it's a mystical text. And not just a mystical text, it is a kind of a metaphysics which is through time immemorial. I will not say time immemorial in the sense of prehistory, but the past few centuries, the West has been impacted throughout the world. It has been taken as a gift of life, because the lessons of life that we learn from this text, there will be a lot of repetitions if I go on talking about whatever has been said. I'm trying to avoid those. But it is basically a combination of prehistory, if we accept that mythology is a kind of a transmutation of prehistory. And then finally, it is an allegory in a certain way of life, because it begins with the first line, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsava, where the first word is dharma. And dharma comes from the word Dhri Dhatu. Dharma is not religion. I would like to emphasize the fact that dharma is not religion in the ritualistic code of conduct of the sense that we generally use. It is much above and much beyond that. It is transcendentalism. It is metaphysics. And Gita, had it not been a metaphysical text, had it not been a mystical text of how to lead a quality life, then it would never have impacted neither the American transcendentalists, nor T.S. Eliot, nor the present generation, the management schools. Even Harvard is teaching Gita as a slice of the Mahabharata. So many of the premier universities. Of course, our universities don't. Well, that's another story. So I think it is an allegory of life and the conflict between dharma and the battlefield of life, Kurukshetra, which is also the battlefield of life in two senses. The battlefield that is about the conflict-ridden world that we go through every day today, the gory stories that we hear, the blood-curdling stories. That is one part of the conflict-ridden world. And the other conflict, which is continuously going on within the inner self. And this conflict is often not helped actually, it is often abnegated through the understanding of the lessons of the Gita, because then we start introspection. And that is what happens exactly at this point, where we say that Lord Krishna is counseling the dejected and the devastated and the distressed Arjuna, who says, how can I fight with my kith and kin? Where he, in chapter 4, the Vishwaroop Darshan, and the Vishwaroop Darshan again is not just a revelation of God in a kind of a very textual sense. It is the dialogue, this kind of counseling which is going on between Arjun and Lord Krishna. It is the dialogue between the self and the higher self. It is a debate. It is a dialogue. It is also a guiding light to see how we can lead a life which is at a much higher plane than we generally do. So there are these 5, some will say 10, some will say 11, some will say 7 primary tenets in the Gita. I'm trying not to be repetitive, because generally I talk from my heart and my mind and my understanding. So it is an allegory of life, actually, a metaphysical text, not really a Hindu text, but a metaphysical, sacred, mystical text, which has influenced the world over to how to lead them, including the management schools, how to lead a good life, how not to become a robo. Today's, I'm sorry to say, the management students, I don't blame them, the youth, not only management schools, even universities, they are taught to be job seekers. They are taught to do, now I will come to the karma part, I have to, though Dr. Saab has talked about the karma part. Now they are job seekers. We are spawning, I would say, I should not use it, but still we are the people, the older generation, who are spawning generation of young people who are after monstrous kind of materialism. They are, I would say, not just demons of materialism and utilitarianism, but they are job seekers, that if I get this degree, if I get this knowledge, they don't even talk about knowledge, they talk about degree, academic degree, then I will get this job and this will give me a quality life, because we are teaching them how to get a lavish, luxurious life, but we don't teach them how to live as a peaceful, as a very tranquil, calm and happy human being. We are the teachers and we are at fault, because we follow the syllabus. We don't teach them beyond the classroom. We do not teach them beyond the laboratory. We teach them whatever is being assigned. But as teachers, we are not supposed to be doing that. We are supposed to be creating human beings. And that is why I feel every university, not just these premier American universities, every university in the world should have this slice of the Mahabharata, the Gita, to tell them that, look here, this is the way you live, not as job seekers. And that is why the karma yoga, according to me, is the first, all the 4 yogas are there in the Gita. Karma yoga, There is Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, which is about action and not seeking the fruits of that action. Then there is Raja Yoga, which is about management or the management of yourself vis-a-vis the world. Then there is Jnana Yoga. Now that also, somebody was speaking about Jnana Yoga, about equilibrium, about equality, about equanimity, about how the balance has to be there where you are at peace with yourself. And I tell everyone, not everyone, my students or those who come to learn whatever little I know, that the equanimity with yourself can only bring you love for the world. If you do not love yourself in the larger sense of the word, love yourself is not self-centeredness. If you are not at peace with yourself, you cannot be at peace with the world. There are frustrated people who get into these negative emotions, which the Gita talks about, that all this avarice, this jealousy, this greed, this hatred, it all will create, it will be a self-created, hell for you. So from Karma Yoga to Raja Yoga to Jnana Yoga, which is about equilibrium and equanimity of the soul and the mind, the highest I feel is Bhakti Yoga. And I cannot stop myself from this temptation of uttering this famous line, which I heard from my grandfather and my father at a very early age. My father was not ritualistic at all, but his actions proved how spiritual and how loving he was, regardless of any faith. I mean, we celebrated every major faith of India in our house. I mean, he was, well, by birth, he was a Hindu Brahmin, but he knew perhaps every faith in the world. I learned almost every faith in the world from my father. So he would not go to the puja room, which my mother would. So I saw balance in my parents. One person was into what she felt good about, religion, reading the Gita every day loudly with resonance, and she believed in the resonance of that sound. But my father said, well, you can be in the WC in your toilet and you can meditate upon the Gita if you know the Gita very well. And these are the lessons which you will learn. So my father said, one line, please remember, my daughter, where Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, and mind you, for some people, this may seem like a paradox. This may seem like a contradiction in the Gita. He says about dharma. He talks about dharma and the larger sense of dharma. But then again, later on, he tells Arjuna, Sarva dharma paritajyan mamekang sharanang vraja. You give up every dharma. You give up every religion. You give up every ritualistic code of conduct. And you surrender yourself to me. Now this me is of course me. Like Aham in the Upanishad, Swami Vivekananda said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am he. The Godhood is not a separate entity. I always say this because I'm going through, and I don't want to talk about it. The world is going through the battle of life, and I am also going through a horrible battle of life. But I know from myself, from the voice that I listen to from my inside, that if you stand your ground, you say, I am not going to succumb in this war of Kurukshetra. If I say that to myself every day, I will beat the Pandavas, definitely. If not today, if not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Of course, this is the Gita that I learned from my grandfather and father. Sarva dharma paritajya. Leave your ritualistic code. Mamekang sharanang braja. Sharan karo. You just surrender yourself and stand your ground also. Don't give up the battlefield. That is the oxymoron. Some people will say, on one side you say, don't give up the battlefield, your karma. On the other side, you say, you give up all your dharma. and you come and surrender to me. Well, you can. You can ignite your mind through the unification of these two sensibilities, which I have learned from the Gita. You know, the integration of the self with the higher self, of Lord Krishna with Arjuna, of the Mahabharata with Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, both unified.
Dr.
And
Professor Lakshmi Banerjee, please, you have 2 or 3 minutes. Please wind
yes,
up.
I'll
Thank you.
wind
Thank
up.
you.
And another important thing which has not been said is that we in Hinduism we talk about 10 avatars, 10 incarnations. No, the Gita says there are infinite incarnations of God, and God himself in Vishwarup Darshan says, and this is again what I learned, and this everybody knows, but still I want to recite those poetic 2 lines, that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanang srijam maham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I will be born from age to age when there is the nadir of evil and negativism. I will be born infinitely through the ages. Why? Paritranaya, to save the good, the virtuous, and to destroy the evil. God as creator and annihilator, both are there in the Gita. So the evil has to be annihilated. That's where the paradox comes together. So it is not that we have 10 incarnations. We have infinite incarnations. And I'm very grateful to you to speak my mind out. And thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you so much for excellent derivation. Dear and respected friend, now it's time to invite our next distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Anand Giri sir. Anand Giri sir teaches in Madras Development Studies, and he's also Executive Trustee of Viswanathan Center for Asian Blossoming. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, dear Randi, and thank you all, dear and respected friends, to our journey with respected Vinod Gomber and also with Bhagavad Gita. I wish to offer this theme of peace and Lokashangraha. If I may share the screen, please.
You can share your screen, sir.
Okay. You can see, please, let us. Can you see?
No, it is not visible. Kindly share again. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, now it is visible.
Okay. So now we have, in this evening, we have embraced many themes and challenges from Bhagavad Gita. And the theme of peace also has been embraced by some of our participants, including Professor Banerjee. And the significance of Bhagavad Gita in reliving the exemplary life of Vinod Kumar, we can begin with the theme of peace. Though Bhagavad Gita talks about battle and it's a call to battle, to fight, but it is a call to fight even if when we are constrained to fight. So we are challenged not to develop hatred. And that is a very important thing. If we are constrained to fight, and the challenge is always not to develop hatred, and also minimum harm And that way, it resonates also with the spirit of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him. And it is said, Prophet Muhammad always avoided war. And in a way, Lord Krishna also tried to avoid the war, isn't it? He tried his best, though Kunti and the mother, as well as the mother of Duryodhana, and though she said that, Krishna, you could have really saved us. But this is one thing. Secondly, as we all know, that Gandhi's journey with Bhagavad Gita, that Gandhi walked and meditated with Bhagavad Gita as a journey of peace with battles. And the battles that are there are our inner battles, battle between different streams of life, different directions of life. Then it is also written in Bhagavad Gita, Shradhavan labhate jnanam, tatpara sanjatendriya, jnanam labdhva parang santi, achirena adhigachanti. So jnana, the theme of jnana is very important. I wish to bring together jnana, shraddha, and peace together. In the process, the whole challenge of sanjatendriya, indriya, senses, and what we can call as not only conquest of senses, not only victory over senses, but cultivation and transformation of senses. And all these are very important aspects of peace. So even if there is battle in Bhagavad Gita, there is also a call for cultivation of what I would like to call this trigonometry of flourishing of life, consisting of Shraddha, then cultivation of senses, and jnana, and also peace. Then when we come to, then I wish to bring the issue of peace through the challenge of structural peace and soulful peace. Because peace is not possible without justice and dignity. In a way, the battle in Bhagavad Gita is a journey with peace and justice and dignity. But even if there are structural causes of conflict, we would have to transform these structural causes and thus build structural peace, which resonates with the idea of structural violence and overcoming structural violence by peace studies scholar Johann Galtung, who talks about structural violence. And based on that, peace studies scholars are talking about structural peace. At the same time, we need soulful peace, as already has been suggested by Professor Banerjee, that if there is no peace in our heart, there will not be peace in the world. But how do we realize both structural peace and soulful peace? Here I want to link the path of peace with the path of the sadhana of Triguna. Bhagavad Gita has a very important chapter called Guna Traya Vibhaga Yoga, in which there is such a detailed description of sattvas, rajas, and tama. So for realization of peace, we need to work with our gunas, and we must be part of processes of overcoming rajas, which is entangled with power, and the forces of power which creates structural violence. And then we must overcome as tamas also, and then come towards an integration of sattva, raja, and tama in a way which leads to flourishing of life rather than destruction. Now I wish to come to Lokasangraha, because this idea of then we must relate to Lokasangraha, because Lokasangraha, as already has been suggested by an earlier speaker, the whole well-being of people or people's welfare. Now, Lokasangraha is much more than that in Bhagavad Gita. For example, a scholar K.B. Rao, in his study of Bhagavad Gita, he emphasizes on Lokasangraha and he writes, if the term Sangraha is taken as a verb, it stands for the act or process. But as a noun, it refers to reality in its dynamic being. Lokasangraha challenges us to realize that our life, self, society, and the world and our cosmos is not just a dead entity, but a living, evolving process. Lokasangraha challenges us for a transformation of cosmology from a mechanical one to a living and a spiritual one. Lokasangraha is not confined among human beings and therefore challenges us to go beyond an anthropocentric concept of welfare and to widen the implicit notion of Sangraha to cover the universal order of being. And this is what Rao speaks in his book on Bhagavad Gita. So taking cue from this, I wish to cultivate Lokasangraha as a multidimensional process. Lokasangraha as gathering of people. But gathering of people is also accompanied by a process of peace. Because if there is no peace, then gathering is not, it is very difficult. But when we gather, in which spirit we gather? Therefore, we would have to link Shraddha with gathering. Because as we gather, for example, our coexistence from multiple points of view, we gather together with Shraddha, which means love and respect, which means whatever disrespect is there, as the critical theorist Axel Honneth in his book Disrespect suggests, what disrespect does, it leads to destruction of our self and cultural possibility. So the response to destruction of disrespect is respect, which means unconditional flourishing of cultural and self-realization. So Lokasangraha and Shraddha we need to bring together, and also peace. Lokasangraha helps us in realization of peace, and certain elementary peace helps us in Lokasangraha. And Lokasangraha also involves Atma Sangraha. Therefore, the notion of public sphere that is developed in modern thinking, right from Aristotle to Habermas. Now, that public sphere is mainly a political public sphere. But that political public sphere, the notion of the polis, P-O-L-I-S, as Rameshwar Rao, a great thinker of our times, in his book on the Vedas, he says that unless we prepare ourselves to be part of the public, then what kind of public is constituted? So I would like to therefore bring Lokasangraha and Atma Sangraha together. At the same time, and extending it to our contemporary world, Lokasangraha also involves Jnana Sangraha, because there is so much emphasis on Jnana in Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, along with Bhakti and Karma. So this gathering of knowledge also means that whatever knowledge we have, we come together with a spirit of respect and mutual learning. But the contemporary condition of knowledge is deeply constrained by a slavish structure of European epistemic dominance. Look at science, for example. Now, science is one path of knowledge. It is part also of our way of being with the world and the divine. Similarly, there are many other ways of knowing. And because a way of knowing is not science in a modern positivistic sense, that does not mean that it is not knowledge. Therefore, Vinoba Bhave, his book, Vigyan or Atmagyan. So that festivity of knowledge, Jnana Sangraha, also needs to be cultivated. Very quickly, I would then link Lokasangraha to the notion of care, and this is not very visible. And here I am sharing with you the thought of Professor Fred Dalmyer, where he is bringing the idea of Lokasangraha from Bhagavad Gita to some interesting political and and philosophers like Hannah Arendt and Martin Heidegger, where he's writing as an antidote to the spread of worldlessness in our time. Hannah Arendt recommended the restoration of a public realm in which people would actively participate and be mutually connected. Digging beneath this public forum, Heidegger unearthed the deeper source of connectedness in the experience of care. From the angle of human being in the world, care penetrates into all dimensions of this correlation, in the sense that existence is called upon to care about the world and its constituent features. And then Dalmyer goes on to bring the Chinese idea of Tianxia, all under heaven. So how exciting it is to cultivate Lokasangraha from Bhagavad Gita as a part of a festivity of knowledge, bringing the notion of care from Heidegger and Hannah Arendt, and notion of public spirit, and also from Hannah Arendt to bring this question of generativity. That means, how do we generate? Because when our world is being destroyed, the challenge for us is to give birth to life. And it is also Sri Aurobindo's notion of Savitri. When Satyavan is dead, Savitri is in meditation, in tapasya, to bring Satyavan into life. So the whole challenge of Lokasangraha then, very quickly, is confronted with the challenge of Loka Vinasha, the destruction of people. But before that, let me also bring this question of Shraddha to Lokasangraha, as I have already said. But the whole practice of Shraddha is an alternative to a one-dimensional view of power as domination. There are multiple notions of power, but power as domination is not the only meaning of power. As Hannah Arendt says, to have power is to work in concert with each other. And that is also the feminist notion of power. And that is also Gandhi's view of power. And it is also the view of power developed by Spinoza, the great father of modernity and unacknowledged father of alternative modernity, where Spinoza is talking about constituent power. It is not just one-dimensional authoritarian power. We come together and we generate power. And that is the spirit of power today, which is emerging all communities. For example, in South America, my great friend, Professor Arturo Escobar, in the studies of communities there, is saying that when communities are coming together, they are generating power. But unlike in India, in decentralization, what is happening? We are begging for power from the central government, and the central government and the state government would never give us power. So this, we also, Lokasangraha comes for a cultivating a different modality of power. And very quickly, I want to bring the notion of hermeneutics by saying that when we come together from different positions, then we would have to move across different positions. And that is a multi-topial hermeneutics. And similarly, I bring the notion of Kundalini, because when we move from one plane to the other, in our own life also there are different layers. Now, if the lower chakras, for example, bring us towards a propensity of karma and not an appreciation of each other, then we would have to move from the lower chakra to the higher chakra. It is also a kind of multi-topial hermeneutics. So for Lokasangraha and peace, we need to work on multiple fronts. And I am concluding very quickly. I think this is my last slide. And then I am coming to the theme of Lokasangraha and Loka Vinasha. Because what is happening today, all forces are bent upon destroying people. And, and then what we need Satyagraha. So Satyagraha and Lokasangraha. Because the idea of Triguna from the Bhagavad Gita, and with the help of Gandhi, our dear friend, so we would have to bring Triguna and Satyagraha together. And then we can transform satyagraha into what I call as traveled truth and translation. And it involves epistemic satyagraha. It also involves ontological satyagraha, where truth is not egological and one-dimensional, but ecological. So it is in that spirit, today we can pay our respect to respected Gomberjee with his Niskama Karma, and we cultivate this Niskama Karma in a more aesthetic way. Because this whole idea of aparigraha, for example, so how do we have a festival of aparigraha? How do we dance with aparigraha? Aparigraha, non-possession, is not just misery. There is a beauty in aparigraha, and that Gandhi embodied. The beauty of simplicity, the beauty of sharing. And so these are some of the calling of Bhagavad Gita this evening that we can cultivate together.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you
kind
so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, and putting deep philosophical insights. And we want to listen more, but we have restriction of time. So, dear and respected friend, now I would like to invite our discussants. I request you to please take 2 to 3 minutes to share your thought. First, I would like to invite Professor Gyan Gului.
Thank you very much. I'm audible. I'm audible.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you very
you are
much.
audible.
It was really very interesting. Of course, I will limit my notes, my remarks. It was, of course, wonderful. Well, I would say one of the questions which I posed to myself when I read Gita is, why there is the manifestation of God? Why? Why God decides to manifest himself to us? And the answer, my first answer is, well, he is aware that we are not sufficient beings. That is, we need the revelation, first of all. And second, there is perhaps the communication of the duty that we cannot wait and see, but on the contrary, we have to develop knowledge in ourselves. Knowledge is perhaps one of the most used words with synonyms of the Gita. Knowledge and exhortation to knowledge, exhortation to self-awareness, exhortation to be aware of our position in the world and to develop ourselves through knowledge. Because we cannot remain in our position and stop. And the second point is, I have heard, it was really very interesting, of the influences of Gita, for instance, on transcendentalism. But I would say there are influences, or at least analogies, of Gita and of the contents of Gita already much before than transcendentalism. Because we can see important points, relevant points of coincidence with Plato and with a great part of all the ancient Greek philosophy. It depends, of course, independently of whether there has been a reciprocal influence. There is really very, very many points of commonality between the philosophy of Plato and that of Platonism and then of Neoplatonism, and the important points of Gita. The third point, perhaps, is, I have many points, but well, I will not mention all of them, unfortunately. But well, the third point is what strikes me always when I read the Gita is the enunciation, so to speak, the manifestation that we human beings have a contrast in ourselves. That is, our souls are complex souls. We cannot say, well, it is simple so. We have a contrast of forces in ourselves, and we have to take a choice. We have to take a choice. What do you want to become? Are we in the condition that we are going to remain in the position of the average life, or do we want to become something different, something more than the average life in which we are? So these are the 3 parts, because in a certain sense, this is very, very similar to what Plato says in many of his dialogues. And so these are the 3 points which I would like to mention. There are many, very many, of course, But well, thank you very much. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite I think she's there. So any of you, if you like to ask any question. Miniti Pradhan ji.
Sir, good evening, and I have few observations. Should
Yes,
I?
please, sir, take 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yes, yes, please. You are welcome.
Thank you so much, and I'm mesmerized to be part of this first memorial lecture on Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber, sir, and the life and the topic life lessons from Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, and it seemed to me that the distinguished speaker were preaching in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the life lessons which were highlighted were a kind of was in form of preaching of Krishna, and as an audience I was listening it, and definitely every thought, every idea presented by all the distinguished speaker was very apt in present context. Few observations I have, particularly when Dr. Vishesh Gupta sir was presenting his opinion, and he presented a point when Arjuna standing in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all confused what to do, what not to do. I'm remembering the state of mind of William Shakespeare's Hamlet, coming returning to his home and confused like Arjuna, to be or not to be. That is the question. So definitely, although Hamlet was not blessed with the companion like Krishna to show him the right path, he struggled and he fought his own battle. But here in the present society, we all are blessed with this Bhagavad Gita. We have read it, we have heard it. So whenever we feel such kind of situation of indecisiveness, we are suffering from an euphoria in our life. So we should take a lesson, and we should take right move from this. The last observation, once again, it ticked in my mind while listening Dr. Vishesh Gupta sir. Sir said we should accept that nothing is permanent in the world. And I'm reminded of the line, concluding line of P.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. When P.B. Shelley having that notion in his mind that if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So all our miseries, all the problems, even happiness is also not permanent. So we should have a balanced approach, be it COVID, be it failure, be it loss, be it suffering, be it happiness. We should have a balanced approach in our life to be happy. And that great lesson was first taught by Krishna to Arjuna and then entire humanity, and that later it was maybe directly or indirectly came through the hand of P.B. Shelley. So definitely we should never give up. We should think if there is winter in our life, definitely it will be followed by spring. So this has been a small submission from my side. Thank you so much, sir,
Thank
for giving
you.
me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Tiwari. Thank you so much. So dear and respected friend, please indicate me in the chat box if you have any question or query. Now I would like to invite Professor Usha Chakravarti, madam, to kindly share her view. Madam, please, you have 2 minutes. So please, we have time constraint also. Yes.
You're asking me, Randir?
Yes, yes.
Are you asking me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because you said Usha Chakravarti, so I said I'm Meera Chakravarti. So.
Oh, sorry. sorry. I saw another name.
No, thank you. Thank you, Ananta, and thank you, Randir, your team, especially Mr. Devendra, always praises. So thank you very much to all of you. Now I'll try to see it a little differently. I'll try to see the question that is raised by Dr. Anand, Jernail Anand, as to why there is so much bloodshed in the battlefield. The first shloka of the Gita is the questions put in to Sanjaya is Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. What are they doing? And the next is he says Mamaka Pandava Sheva Kim Akurvata. So this word Mamaka is that my children and the Pandavas. So Dhritarashtra never took, so therefore this owning that I am, somebody explained that this is also Tyaga, but it starts with, though it is Kurukshetra and which is Dharmakshetra, it starts with owning my own. So tell me what are my children doing along with them. So therefore the tragedy starts with the ownership that has been explained in the both in the political field as well as in the worldly field, which is physical, not metaphysical. Now the problem is here: how do we? What lesson do I take from here? Uh, Gandhi took the lesson very, very, very well, very amazingly, where he talks of. He says it is against the bloodshed. Gandhi says no bloodshed. I will take the lesson from Gita in a very innovative way through non-violence. And the mighty British Empire was challenged, taken as a challenge, where every Indian fought against the dehumanizing condition thrust on the people of India, and not a single person behaved. Of course, there were aberrations. There were aberrations for which Gandhi, of course, had an Upavasa Satyagraha, Anashan. So where in the whole world you do not find such an amazing counter action that is taken against violence. So the violence against non-violence, that has to be really understood, which perhaps had minimum bloodshed, and which is amazing. So therefore, later Nehru's administration, proposed the Panchsheel principles for a peaceful coexistence. So therefore, we see that how Gita's lesson has been taken in a very innovative way by Gandhi, and Ananta talks of peace and Shraddha. So therefore, there is this grace and peace which has been taken by Gandhi, and then followed also by Nehru and his Vajpayee was the foreign minister at that time who was taken. It has been taken with China for peaceful coexistence. It is not followed later on, so just see what is happening. That is one. So the transformative power that has been talked of, I will rather
Thank you.
see Krishna as a politician as well as a statesman, and of course in another level as a metaphysical teacher also. He's not talking of revenge, he's not talking the law in the Indian law, the Dharma Shastras do not talk of revenge, whereas the European or the Athenian laws talks of revenge. That is missing. The revenge is not there. So therefore, he says it is your duty. You find also dharma dharanat dharma. It is not one of the meaning of dharma is to uphold. So that what is it that upholds? It is the truth which upholds. It is the transformative power which upholds. This is my observation. Thank you,
Thank you.
Randir. Sorry
Thank
for
you. Thank
taking
you.
more
Thank you
time.
so much for the enlightening, comment. And I definitely would like to have another session on Bhagavad Gita, but we have to wait for that. So the next, Miniti Pradhanji, she's our last discussion, and then I would request respected speaker to kindly note down the points, and then I will invite you to answer. Yes, Miniti Pradhanji.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you
Hello.
are audible.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Professor Randir Gautam for sending me invitation to join such a insightful discussion by so many eminent speakers. So I'm not pro on any Bhagavad Gita and anything. Whatever I learned from today's discussion, I was just had one contradictory, not question, means a thought. Like one, when you see, like life lessons from Gita, there was Dr. Anand was telling, did it really lead to peace? I mean, it is a unending question probably in today's scenario. And the second one was like, no, doing duties to find joy. There comes a question, like most of the times, no, it is considered that what others want us to do, that is considered as duty. It is not that what we want to do, that is considered as duty, and we find happiness in that. I mean, I don't know today whether there's time to discuss about it, but how do we keep balance about that? What others expect us to do and what makes us happy or we find joy in that? And thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So now I would like to invite Dr. J.S. Anand and any other, speaker, if he or she wants to answer this question, please. Yes, Dr. J.S. Anand, sir. Okay. Sir is taking some time. I would like to invite Professor Gyan Gului, since you are working on Bhagavad Gita. So would you like to respond this question? Okay. Any other discussion? I think we have reached. Yes. Please
To
unmute.
Minati's question, that how to balance it is that there are levels of action which we all the time will be doing. We are balancing. You are balancing all the time, running to school, to doing your jobs, and writing essays, etc. So what is important is what is your priority. If you take Gita as a lesson of peace and cooperation, and as I pointed out that how politically it was interpreted as Panchashil, how politically it was interpreted by Gandhi as truth, and he claimed simplicity. Somebody, one Professor Banerjee was saying that we do not teach our children simplicity. We give them whatever they want, but then they wouldn't learn their simplicity. So the claiming simplicity, which Gandhi did, and trying to blend that as one of the priorities of life, because it is the material world which brings so much tragedy. Today, what you are seeing is the aftermath of the consequences of total irrelevant materialism, which is so. This, I think, these are the things with which you are living, and you will have to be very conscious or alert that these are the things which are happening to you, the means not per se, to everybody, to humanity. So therefore we'll have to take the larger question into view, and the larger question is saving humanity. It is a peaceful existence of human beings, peaceful existence of countries. Why do we want so much of money to invest in the armaments? Why as against poverty? There's so much poverty, people are not getting food, but we are buying, all the countries are buying armaments. Why? To what? Everybody has gone for nuclear power. Where is the simplicity? So I think we have to be careful, alert to these questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So much.
So it's time to say good night and goodbye. So before this, I would like to invite Dr. Santosh Kumar sir to kindly say a vote of thanks. Is he there? Dr. Tiwari? Dr. Tiwari, sir, would you like to?
Sir, why not?
Please share, please offer a vote of thanks. And before
Thank you
this,
so much for,
anybody
for-
who would like to ask anything or anything to say about this webinar or memorial lecture? I can see, oh, sorry, Professor Divakar Goli sir is there. So, sir, you are cordially invited. You are, please share, sir, some thoughts. Professor Divakar Goli is.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
The
Please.
thing is, life has got no meaning for itself. For me, what I learned is life do not have meaning for itself. We give the meaning for the life. And what Krishna said to Arjuna was to find out the meaning, the purpose of his life. When Arjuna found his purpose and then he started taking actions. And there is another sloka about that. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. And there was also again said that no, Anandji said about nishkama karma. Thing is, we cannot do that nishkama karma. We will always expect something when we do something. And every action has got a result. And all actions will produce the reaction. And the results will come. The results only depend upon what no. The thing is, right actions will get you the right results, and wrong actions will get you the wrong results, and no actions are also actions and get some results. So what I learned is to find out the purpose of the life. When we find the purpose of the life, then there'll be nothing, there will be no tragedy, there will be no badness, there is no unhappiness or any kind of things. So if we find the happiness, even Banerjee said that our students, as a teachers, we should be the Krishna and educate our students and find that what is the purpose of their life. If they can identify the goal of their life and the purpose of their life, then life is beautiful. There is no, because it's always about when we say nishkarma karma, we do take some actions and we get some results. And more than that, we expect something else. In addition to that, we will get something else. No, you reap what you sow. Whatever the actions we give to the life will give it back to us. It's always we get back whatever we give to the life. You give good to the life, you get back good. You throw bad about the life into the life, and the life will give it back. So it's all about the golden rule: do unto others what you want them to do unto you.
Thank you.
That's what I learned. And
thank you so
be happy.
much,
If you want to be happy, be happy. That's it. Why should we link the happiness with something else? It's a perception. Happiness is a perception. I want to be happy, and nobody and nothing can stop me from being happy. That's it. It's a beingness. Anyway, thank you. Because Gita is a big thing, and we are very small people to talk about this. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, and for making this occasion a memorable one. The V.K. Gomberji Memorial Lecture, a memorable one. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you
on behalf
so
of Raffles University, from everybody.
Yes, Dr. Tiwari, please offer vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me to extend this vote of thanks on the very august moment of first Shri Vinod Kumar Gomber Memorial Lecture. And of course, I do believe it will be a series. So on behalf of Raffles University, Raise Global Foundation, and Vishesh Center for Asian Blossoming, I extend my deep felt gratitude to one and all present on this virtual board. Before proceeding ahead, let me say this, that it is because of the blessings and consent of Honorable Dr. Justice Meena V. Gomber, ma'am, for initiating such kind of great activity, and I hope in future also such kind of activities will be organized by the organizing committee, and everybody shall be benefited with the same. So my first thanks is to Honorable Dr. Justice Meena Gomber ma'am. Next, I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to Dr. Vishesh Gupta sir for initiating this, great talk in a great manner, and sir touched almost all the aspects of human life which can be made better by learning lesson from Gita. So thank you so much to Dr. Vishesh Gupta sir. The next speaker of the session and guest of honor of the session, Dr. J.S. Anand sir, as usual, very apt and very relevant by and sir has already written a book on the topic related to Gita. So, and as very aptly shared by his thoughts and experiences on Gita, was very relevant and commendable. So I share thanks to sir. Our next speaker is Dr. Molly Joseph ma'am for her brilliant presentation and great thought-provoking ideas, which was very apt to the context of the talk. So thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to Dr. Laksmisree Banerjee ma'am for a very thought-provoking and energetic presentation on the very topic, and quoting Bhagavad Gita like Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanirvatu Bharata and many more those apt present lines like Amekam Sanam Braja. So definitely it was very apt to the present context. I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to Dr. Anand Giri sir for his benign presence and presenting his ideas based on his experience with Bhagavad Gita and adding it with so many sociological contexts. So thank you so much. Next, I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to all the distinguished discussants, beginning from Dr. Gyan Louis Gi sir, Professor Meena Chakravarti ma'am, Minati Pradhan ji, and everybody. I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to Professor Divakar Goli sir for his benign presence, for giving us confidence to organize such kind of activities. Last but not the least, I would like to express my deep-felt gratitude to all the audience, active participants for making it successful. And finally, Professor Randhir Gautam sir for planning, executing this activity and making it possible to have this great gathering on today's evening. It was like a meeting face to face, and thanks to the internet that we all could connect with each other. So thank you so much, everybody. My greetings and regards. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Jai
you.
Shri
Thank you.
Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
organizer. It was wonderful to attend this seminar.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.